On Sabbath morning, July 23, 2022, Daniel R. Jackson, former president of the Seventh-day Adventist Church in North America, passed to his rest after several months of battling cancer. He was 73 years old. Elder Jackson, who served the Adventist Church for 49 years, retired in July 2020 after serving as NAD president since 2010. As president, Jackson made many contributions to the church in North America, including the creation of a missional strategic plan, the building up of the NAD Ministerial Association, the addition of the Guam-Micronesia Mission to the territory served by the NAD, and bringing the administrative oversight for Oakwood University, Pacific Press Publishing Association, AdventSource, and Christian Record Services for the Blind, under the umbrella of the North American Division. In addition to the division moving to its own headquarters in Columbia, Maryland in 2017, the tithe from across the division grew during Jackson's tenure. Almost 1,000 churches were planted. More than 300,000 people were baptized. The number of women working as pastors and chaplains doubled, and the legacy Adventist media ministries found their own homes and identities. During his career, Jackson served the church as a pastor, teacher, and administrator. He was known for his love of music, keen sense of humor, and mission-mindedness, all hallmarks of his ministry throughout the years. Elder G. Alexander Bryant, current NAD president and successor to Jackson, said this about his friend and colleague. Elder Dan Jackson was not only a fellow colleague in ministry, he was also a true friend and brother, who demonstrated his faith in real and practical ways. Having served with him for 10 years, I can say with authority that he was the genuine article. It is no overstatement to say a giant among us has fallen. As communication director for the North American Division through much of Elder Jackson's tenure, Dan Weber was able to observe his leadership and commitment to ministry. Now teaching at Andrews University, Dan agreed to share some of his thoughts with us. Dan, thanks so much for being with us to share some of your thoughts and memories of Elder Jackson.
Connie, it's good to be with you. I appreciate the chance to share a little bit about someone who I held in very high esteem and I considered a real honor and pleasure to work under Elder Jackson and also with his wife, Donna. One of the things I remember about Elder Jackson was his sense of equality, the way he treated everyone as an equal. He cared about his family, and his family, I mean his work family. He cared about everyone in the North American Division. We were a gigantic family under his leadership. And I noticed one thing that he would do. He'd be gone on a trip for a couple of weeks. And when he came back, he would immediately take about an hour or so, and he'd walk around the office and he'd talk to every single employee. And he knew their names, he knew their families' names, he knew their background. And it was just his way of reconnecting. And it was that personal sense. Everyone loved him for that. Everyone really cared about him and would go the extra mile for him. The other thing that I really respected was that he was passionate about young adults. He was passionate about empowering young adults. He was passionate about empowering young leaders. He took a chance on me as a communication director. I hadn't worked for a conference or a union. I'd come from the general conference, and I was an associate director. And he came to me and he said, "Do you want to be considered for the job?" And I said, if you want me to, I will. And he afforded me an opportunity to do that. He let me grow. And it wasn't just with me, it was with lots of people. He empowered people. He gave people room to make mistakes. He held everyone accountable and everyone to a high standard, but he also gave us room to grow into the jobs that we've been elected to. And it was just a pleasure to work with him, and I consider it one of the highlights of my career.
Elder Jackson had a burden to reach others with the gospel message, to share the hope and wholeness found in Jesus. The best way for me to understand my life and my service for God is to keep my eyes fixed upon Jesus as my example and my mentor. Jackson said this near his retirement in 2020. Elder Sandra Roberts, the Executive Secretary of the Pacific Union Conference, has some personal reflections on Elder Jackson. She stopped by our studio this week to share them.
Elder Dan Jackson was really a hero to me and to so many women in ministry across this division, and gave hope to the world. Dan was a friend. He was a friend to everyone. He was so full of energy and life and compassion and vision. But for me personally, in the midst of a lot of controversy, especially over my election as a president in Southeastern California Conference, he was a person who used a lot of his equity and his belief in me and in women in ministry. I remember specifically one moment that meant the world to me. I was at annual council and things were a little rough in the conversation that was going on, and Dan called me back to the back of the auditorium. There's a staircase, and he and Donna took me back under the staircase and presented me with a gift, a very personal gift that they had actually had engraved for me. And as they gave it to me, Dan looked me in the eye and he said, "Sandy, I am going to protect you. And it might get rough, but I am going to be with you in this journey. I believe in you. I believe in Southeastern California Conference, and we're going to get through this together," and prayed with me. That speaks to me so much about the kind of man that he was. Always there for you. I think every leader in this division would say Dan Jackson was a person who came along beside you. He would sit with you. He would listen to you. He would hear your concerns, and he would give you encouragement and his commitment as the president of this North America division. I know I speak on behalf of the women throughout this division in our gratitude for his support, his encouragement, and the tremendous equity that he used, personal equity. I know he took a lot of hits for us. So to him and Donna, I will ever be grateful.
Elder Bradford Newton, Pacific Union Conference President, worked closely with Dan Jackson and shared appreciation for Elder Jackson's ministry and legacy for the church in North America and throughout the world.
I can remember the very first time that I had any encounter with Dan Jackson, and it was when he was elected a division president, and he was walking through the outer kind of court area there outside the auditorium where the election had taken place. And I was struck by the high level of energy and engagement that he was already demonstrating, and he'd been president for probably, 30 minutes, meeting people and engaging with people. One of the great things that I appreciated about Dan, Elder Jackson, but I knew him as Dan, as a colleague and a friend, was his ability to be able to draw people in, to be able to have you feel like he was listening, that he was interested in what you had to say, and he genuinely was. And this came through in so many different ways. I can remember after our 2011 Ministerial Council here at the Union, he and Donna and my wife Jennifer and I were over at Marie Callender's in Ontario after we had had the meeting. And here he was with the division president sitting, relaxed, surrounded by pastors, having a wonderful conversation with us about ministry and about life. I also thought that as Dan demonstrated the visionary nature of what it means to be a leader, he was a tremendous communicator. I remember the first sermon he ever preached for year-end meeting, so inspiring, and he continued to inspire us every time he spoke. And of course, the vision he brought to the Union, his commitment to enhancing the equality of ministry for women and men in our division. And I miss him. When I heard of his passing, my heart was so sad because we laid to rest a great man of God, a great warrior for Christ, and I can hardly wait to see Dan again when Jesus comes.
Dan Jackson is survived by his wife Donna, 3 children and 4 grandchildren. Our prayers are with Donna and the Jackson family and many friends of Dan Jackson today. Information on where to send condolences and when a memorial service will be scheduled will be shared when available. Links to articles from the NAD website about Elder Dan Jackson are in the description box. May the promise found in Revelation 21:4 be fulfilled very soon, and God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There shall be no more death, nor sorrow, nor crying, There shall be no more pain, for the former things have passed away. For all God's people, I'm Connie Vandeman Jeffrey.